Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video today. I'm using some products from Erin Lee Creative, the Classic Dot Floral, the brush stroke die, it's a standalone die, and then also the hot foil script sentiments. So I'm going to start out just by tracing my die here. I'm using Nina 80-pound Solar White cardstock, and I'm going to be coloring this background with my Copics, but you could certainly use a Distress ink, Distress Oxide, whatever inks you have on hand. Colored pencils, whatever you want to do. It would all work. We're just going to add some color to the background. Something to note with the alcohol markers, when I put it over the pencil, it is going to seal it in there and I won't be able to erase it. Now for me, I'm using it as a guide to line it up, but if you are like, I'm just going to scribble down some color here and I don't really know what part I want to cut out, then don't use the outline. So yeah. Other things to know, there are mad sales going on this Memorial Day weekend, and Erin Lee Creative is one of them. They have a 20% sale going on in her store. I've also updated my sales page, so I will link that below if you're watching on YouTube. They are affiliate links, which means I do get a portion and no extra cost to you. And my family genuinely appreciates that because it allows me to keep doing this and sharing with you guys. So yeah. Here, I'm going back over my blends because the more ink that you put down with alcohol markers, the better they're going to blend because it blends in the fibers of the paper. So here, there was kind of like this one little spot in the green that I didn't like. I just went over it a couple of times and eventually it softened up. So you can go over this as many times as you need to get a blend that you're happy with. Once I was happy with it, I am going to just go ahead and line up my die that I traced previously, tape that in place, and then I'm going to move on to the sentiment. For the sentiment, so part of the reason that we've been making so many videos lately that have not been the classic black outline, bright colors, Kelly style is because I've been using my hot foil machine quite a bit and I didn't have any black foil. So I finally fixed that problem. So I have purchased some black foil and now I am also using Erin Lee has a glossy white cardstock, which is really great for foiling. And that is also what I am using for my sentiment. So, I just heated that up, put the black foil on top of it. It foiled beautifully. There are matching dies with all of these sentiments. And so I'm just going to use that same shadow die to go ahead and cut this out at the same time that I do my brush stroke background. And then we're going to move into the Copic coloring, which has been a while since I've done that. There's another video that will be up tomorrow that will go into a little bit more in-depth why I haven't really been Copic coloring as much. Like nothing super dramatic, just the reason behind it. I love the way that this little brush stroke turned out. I think it's super cute. It's nice, bright, bold colors. And one of the things that I really liked about the floral background was that it had all of these little extra accents. So it's called the floral dot, classic floral dot, because there are these little dots in the background and I didn't want to lose that with the fussy cutting. And so in order to preserve that little dot detail, I am going to stamp this over my background into like onto my card base so that I can preserve all of those outside pieces and then go ahead and fussy cut out my main image. This is something that I've done quite a bit in the past because I don't really like the white outlines that dies give, and I don't really mind fussy cutting. I know that that's not the case for everybody, but if you're here, hopefully you want to learn a little tips and tricks about fussy cutting, or you're just here for story time. Speaking of story time, so recently, back to the card real quick. So here I'm putting good pressure on this, but anytime that you have 2 layers of cardstock, you have to put a little bit more pressure on the edges. Otherwise you get this weird gapping. You can see it at the top and bottom there. So I'm just going to go in and give some extra pressure right on those joints where the 2 pieces of cardstock meet. And then that will get rid of that gap. So recently, probably in the last month or so, Erin Lee actually had been on her social media talking about integrity and stamping. And she got I think it was like 2 days where she put up 2 different videos and she talked about integrity and stamping. And like people came for her for real. They were like, who were you talking about? Stop vague booking, say what you mean, call the person out. I want to know so I don't shop there. And there was a lot of that going on. And really all she was saying is like, just be mindful of what you're purchasing and where you're purchasing it from and how that affects our community as a whole. And there were several people who were like, like I said, like they wanted to know what specifically she was talking about, which she refused to name. And you have to understand that you're talking about her business. Okay. Like if she starts naming people's names, like she's putting a target on her back for people who follow them or people who are, diehard fans of whatever company she's talking about. So I don't fault her for not saying that. I understand what she was doing, which was just like a healthy reminder. Now, there were other people that I saw in the comments that were just like straight up. And honestly, while I may disagree with their stance, I totally respect their transparency, which was like, I'm going to go where I need to go. That's going to be the cheapest and most convenient for me. That was this particular commenter's stance. And like I said, while I don't necessarily agree with that because I want to support our community as a whole and support small business, just like I will never buy, stamps or dies from like Wish. Those things are stolen. They're stolen items. I will not shop there. And that does mean that it costs me more to buy the product where it was originally created with the original creator, whether that's intellectual content that they own or physical product that they own and created. But that's just me. And other people don't feel that way, but at least like she was transparent about it. But I just really kind of wanted to touch on that like Erin was trying to just remind people, in your everyday life, like these people, these small businesses, they're real people. And when other people are taking their product or taking their intellectual property and reproducing it, that it is hurtful, and in some cases it's theft. Like we all saw what happened with Misty when they had a patent pending. There was another company who decided to make the same product. Actually, there were several other companies who decided to make the same product, and then Misty ended up winning that particular lawsuit because it's her intellectual property. You're talking about these people who started making these things, who had this idea, who started making them in her garage, in her basement. Like, yes, those are the people that I want to support. And so consequently, I'm perfectly happy supporting Erin. I love her products. I like her as a person. I think that it's important to have integrity in all aspects of your life. And I'm happy to hopefully spread the word about her products and how awesome they are. And so that's that. I'm me, I'm very transparent. I'm not looking for like meanness or nastiness or name calling, but if you have questions that I feel like I can answer, you're more than welcome to leave them in the comments. You guys know that I read them and then I will address them as I can. It's been kind of crazy in the household lately, which is a story for another video. But I will do my best to address those. But I do think that it's important to have integrity in just everything that you do. And as long as you're okay and you can sleep at night with the things that you're doing, that's on you. Okay, back to the card. So here I filled in the centers yellow and I totally did not like it. Like I didn't like it at all. So I knew that they needed to be a little bit darker because these particular types of flowers are fluted. So your centers would be darker. And so I just added some of the darkest color, this RV69, to the center. And then I'm going to blend that out into the rest of the inside, like this little star pattern it's got going on, and trying to leave, to the best of my ability, a highlight on the edge, so that it does give it some dimension and it doesn't make it look just flat. That's what I did also with extending the lines that were already there in the pink portion to just give them some dimension. For the leaves, I'm really not going to do anything spectacular here. I'm just going to add some shading so that, again, we have that dimension. In the brush stroke background, I did neon green to dark teal. And the way that these flowers are going to sit on there, I am going to flip-flop my colors so that way there is some contrast. So I'm going to go from dark teal to neon green. This is a Kelly card in like the true classic sense of a Kelly card. It's got a bold black outline. It's got super bright colors. It's a very clean and simple layout. It's probably one of my favorite ones that I've made in a really long time. And that just makes my heart happy. Isn't everybody happy when they make a card that they're just like, this is the cat's pajamas. I really, really love this. Because I totally am. I'm always like, yeah, this is a good one. Stoked about it. Speaking of things that are like, yeah, this is a good one, stoked about it. I have noticed recently, and I'm not sure what the issue is, but my YouTube views have just dropped down. And I don't know if that's because like when you go to your YouTube page, and it happens to me too, when you go to your YouTube page, you're on their home screen and it's just all these videos that they're projecting at you. You have to actually click onto your subscriptions feed to see anybody that you subscribe to. So I'm not sure if that's what's happening, if people were subscribing and then maybe they're not clicking over to their subscriptions. Maybe my content just isn't what they're looking for. Like I'm just getting less views because the videos aren't as good or the content isn't there. That's totally a thing as well. But one of the things I'm trying and doing some research is I have edited my thumbnails. I'm sure you've noticed. So now instead of the title just being in the title section, the title is also on the thumbnail, because reportedly this will help people to understand what your video is about and is more visually pleasing. Also, the other thing that is more visually pleasing is faces. I'm so far not willing to take a picture of my face because I have to tell you, most of the time, 99.999% of the time, I have dirty hair, no makeup on, and I am in my robe when I am crafting. And so like I would almost have to take like headshots all in the same day, just like changing my shirt, and then use those as my thumbnails. And I'm just not willing to do that. It's not the kind of effort I'm willing to put in. I apologize. I'm just not there. This is just, yeah, we're going to try this title thing first and see if that gives us any traction. So here I am outlining my image with a alcohol safe pen. These ones, I think some people had said that they were able to find them, but the last time I looked for them, they were out of stock several places. And now we're onto the fussy cutting. So here is the tip that we're talking about. First tip of fussy cutting: trim down your image to a manageable size. You do not need this big block of a paper to start cutting. Hold your image in your non-dominant hand and your scissors in your dominant hand. Rotate the paper, not the scissors. This will give you a much smoother cut. Also, this is not like, you know how like when you're making paper roses, like you just trim this big spiral and everything needs to be connected? Nah, fam, we don't need to keep it all connected. Don't be afraid to trim out smaller pieces if the angle works better for your scissors. I'm trimming off, you'll see the little pieces, parts that fall down from this as I'm trimming, because if you are continually trying to keep this piece as one piece, you might not have the best angle. Speaking of the best angle, I also I will go in, I start on the left-hand side just because that's the way that I cut counterclockwise. And then as I trim everything down to the left, once I get to a stopping point, I typically will not force my scissors to make that small turn. I will come in from the opposite way and then trim out that piece altogether. You can see it here a couple of different times. In the center, I'm going to leave these white parts. You can get rid of them. I would not recommend doing it with scissors. I have done it in the past by using a cutting mat and like an X-Acto knife. That will get out those sections in the middle. But for this particular card, I don't need to remove them, and it's only going to make my flowers less structurally sound. If there's no middle, they're going to be more likely to rip or tear. If you keep that middle solid, you have a much better chance of everything kind of holding together. The last tip or trick I have for fussy cutting is once you have the whole image cut out, your edges will look smoother if you use a water-based black marker, because I have outlined in black, that's why I'm using black, to go around the edges. I like to turn my image so it's facing away from me and I'm looking at the back of it. That way if my marker slips, it slips down the back instead of down the front, which would make me cry big crocodile tears because I just spent all that time coloring it. But if this doesn't work for you, or you have a very intricate fussy cutting piece that you've done, alternatively, you can get a scrap piece of paper and then just use the same black marker to outline the whole image. This will also apply ink to all of the edges and make it just look like a much smoother cut. So there there was just a couple of spots that I missed, mostly because I was rushing, but that will fix that. Here, I had just temporarily adhered this brushstroke section to my card so that I could stamp on it. I didn't know if I was going to pop it up on foam or not, which is why I did that. But really in the beginning, I could have adhered it down permanently and it would have been fine because that's what I ended up doing. So I'm going to, again, glue down this same floral spray, just glue it right over top of there. And then for the sentiment, I will pop that up on foam. But again, just really super happy with the way that this turned out. You know, I know that fussy cutting, not everybody is capable of doing it. Not everybody is into it. Also, you know, there's typically dies that you can purchase for almost any stamp. Here, I'm just going to go in and find the color that matches the background and just fill that in. If you want your die cuts to blend in the same way, this is what I would recommend doing. I would recommend finding a Copic color that matches your background and just filling in the outside white outline of the die. That's what I usually do as well. Here, I'm just adding a couple of little details. I am filling in any of those dots that were drawn into the illustration in white. I'm also adding white to the center of my flowers, just as a little extra detail, something that's a little bit more interesting. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way that this card turned out. You guys will have to let me know what you think, or if you have some input on why you think the views are down. I would be very interested to know that as well. You guys obviously know what you are or are not watching and why. And if you could give me some insight, I would greatly appreciate that. So the last thing that we're going to do, you guys already know, I love the shimmers, love the shines, and that's going to be to add some clear glitter on top of the flowers. And then that's it. That is the whole card. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you will head over and check out the sales page. There's a ton of that. And I will catch you on the next video. Bye.